I'd love for you to tell me a story, a specific day and time, an example of where you realized, oh, shit,
Yeah. Yeah.
we now have investors.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
What can you
great.
tell that
Yeah.
story?
I'll tell you that story. So we raised money, we got investors, and then it was time for a board meeting. We'd never done a board meeting before. And we go into the board meeting, we present, and suddenly the board's like, okay, what about this? What about this? Where's the data on this? What's this? And we're just like, I don't know, I don't know, I don't know, I don't know. And they're like, how do you not know? Like, you need to be running this company like this. You need to know these numbers. You need to have these metrics. You need to bring them to the board meetings, blah, blah, blah. And we were just like thrown into a tussle. And then it was like, okay, we need all this stuff by the next board meeting. And suddenly that meeting ended. And it's like, whoa, like we have a lot of homework. There's people who could be like upset at us now. And we're now working for what these people want and doing what these other people want. And that was, I mean, that was a big shift. It's like, we were just, before that, we would go into work. Sure, we would show up on time, but we didn't have to. And, like just doing what we felt was, what we felt we wanted to do that day. We weren't doing a lot of planning. Like we weren't doing any of that stuff. Like we were just enjoying ourselves building this company. And now it just felt like there was this weighty responsibility that we had because we fundamentally had a fiduciary duty that didn't exist before, right? Like we took these people's money, and this money isn't just like their personal money either. There's, pension funds in these investment funds, right? It's like firefighters and teachers' money, right? It's all kinds of stuff in there. And so you have a fiduciary duty, and then you have reputational risk now because you've got institutional investors. And so the stakes are way higher. You can't just like fade off into oblivion if if the thing dies. You're worried that now you wouldn't, which isn't necessarily true. I mean, people invest in failed founders all the time, but it just feels very different than like that joy of just waking up in the morning and working on your startup. And I've talked to other founders about this and they agree. And so here's the thing you have to ask yourself is because the investors are not in it for some small return. That's not how venture funding works. So you have to ask yourself, is this company going to be potentially a public company? And if the answer to that question is no, you probably should not be raising venture funding. Like if you don't believe that's a good possibility. Now, that doesn't mean you wouldn't sell it along the way, but like if you think the company can only get to 20 million in revenue and then it's kind of going to flatten out, that's not venture returns. Like sure, you could sell that for 100, 200 million dollars maybe if you're lucky. But that's not going to that's not even a venture return. That's not that interesting, right? The things that really drive venture returns are like 100x or things like that, unless you're talking about growth rounds. So you've got to ask that question. If the answer is no, you might make a lot more money keeping it as a lifestyle business, because the second change is we were writing ourselves checks. Like anytime we were doing a big purchase or I was buying a house or whatever, I'd call my brothers and say, hey, how about we dividend out, 50K each, right? And we just write ourselves $50,000 checks, right? Which, maybe we were making 200K, 300K in profit a year. And so that kind of worked out. Well, the second you take money, you're not doing that anymore, right? So everything about it changes. And the stakes are higher and it feels like work again, which is something entrepreneurs don't generally love. And so you've got to really ask yourself, like, am I willing to give all of that up? And the only reason the answer should be yes is because this is a giant freaking opportunity that I'm not going to be able to get unless I get venture funding.
Hey, thanks for watching today's video. If you love today's video, then I bet you're going to absolutely love John Warrillow's best-selling book, Built to Sell. It's been endorsed by entrepreneurs such as Seth Godin, Bo Burlingham, Patrick Bet-David, Tim Ferriss, and many more. And guess what? You can grab a free copy of this book. All you have to do is head over to builttosell.com to grab your free copy today.